Welcome to the Investing Bros. I am T Shroom, and you are in for another exciting episode here for the 9 a.m. stream. Guys, an all-time high for Bitcoin? Look no further. Here it is, $78,000 Bitcoin right here. Of course, there's an important detail that I'm maybe leaving out here. Can you find it? I'll give you a couple seconds. Okay, this is the Bitcoin to yen chart. So the Japanese yen has actually clocked in an all-time high versus Bitcoin. So Bitcoin over in Japan, unfortunately for the Japanese economy, they have sunk into a recession. We'll learn about that in just a second. But this is what it's going to look like, bros. This is what the all-time high is going to look like. Of course, that number is going to be 70,000, not 78,000 once it hits an all-time high. But it is going to be very exciting. It's going to look a little something like this as the Japanese... Well, I was going to say wake up, but we're the ones waking up here in America. They're probably bedding down over in Japan on the 15th. As they kind of tidy up and go to sleep, Bitcoin is hitting an all-time high in their currency. Not a great look. Not a great look for the Japanese economy. We're going to be kind of tuning in and learning a little bit more about the recession that is going on around the world. Recession has hit some of the world's top economies, and we're going to be learning about it a little bit today. Let's take a look at the crypto bubbles. VeChain having an absolutely monstrous day. This is the daily tab here for the top 100 coins. VeChain up 32.1% today. BGB up 19. Lunacy, pay no attention to Lunacy. It's a bunch of lunacy. And then you also have your usual suspects here. C, STX, H&T up all in double digits. At least H&T is. So very exciting there for some altcoins that may be in your bag. Let me know in the chat, what is your best performing coin today? What is your best performing coin? I believe my best performing coin today might actually be, I got them all right here. I don't know. I don't see any that I hold that are doing all that well, to be honest with you. AVAX up 2.6%. That's a favorite. They had some big bullish news yesterday. Yeah, so we'll keep moving here. PIF down for almost 4% there, so that's not great. That's not great to see. HBAR down 1%, but c'est la vie. Let's keep moving here because we do have some news. Let's look at the real Bitcoin charts here. I had the Japanese charts pulled up for a little bit of a little morning jolt to your cardiac system. And hopefully you got it. Hopefully you weren't swerved off the road from that jolt. But yeah, we can take a look here. We can see Bitcoin is obviously doing pretty well against the U.S. dollar as well. Not anywhere near as well as against the yen. But take a look here, guys. We have gotten our first daily candle close above $50,000. You got to give it up for this day. It was yesterday. It was the 14th, right? It was Valentine's Day. You all guessed it correct in the poll that I put up over on my X account at T-Shroom. You guys guessed it right. Kinda. I believe it was a tie right down the middle, 33%. People guessed that we would get this daily candle close above $50,000. Well, guess what, guys? We got it. We not only got it, but the current candle we're in is completely unengulfed by the previous February 15th candle, right? So that's bullish. It's trading above that, and there's no engulfation there. Very, very bullish. It's going to be a good day, right? For a long time, I was thinking, since background here, I was thinking we were going to get sideways movement, which would lead to a mini altcoin season. VeChain was like, look, we're bringing the altcoin season into the future. We're just going for it. We're going for it. And best of luck over to the VeChain holders. Gotta love it. However, Bitcoin doesn't seem like it's done yet. It has some major levels to go up and test. 53 is really the next big landmark, in my opinion. This is illustrated by the 3-month chart, the 3-month candlesticks, I should say, has some very significant resistance levels here. So we shall see. As Tim pulled up the VPVR yesterday, there's also some levels kind of drawn up by that tool as well. So 53 is really the next big mountain to climb. If I draw it out here, you can indeed see that we've got this zone down here, which again, how I was describing is kind of like the consensus of what the price was for 2024. And now that consensus has come under stark disagreement as we have made a move to the upside, right? A very, very big move to the upside, that is. So it's exciting to see, for sure. And we'll continue to monitor this, obviously, as well here on the Investing Bros. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be going live to cover the TA much more in depth. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Now, one thing you should know, bros, is that Tim is going to be putting out his video today. You might be like, well, Tim's back, but he didn't put out a morning video. It's correct. He's going to be trying to post that at noon today. So we're going to have a different post time. Going to see how that performs. And then we're going to circle back and kind of make some decisions if we want to keep it there at noon or if we want to keep it at 9. I've already got a poll in the chat for something else we'll check in on in a few minutes. But go ahead and let me know in the chat here, what do you like better? Do you like the morning video at 9, or are you kind of indifferent? Are you going to watch it regardless around 4 p.m.? Does it not really matter? Let me know in chat. I definitely want to know. And respond to the poll in chat. I'm asking the question here. Will more consolidation occur in the U.S. banking industry in 2024? So what does that mean? Basically, how New York Community Bank had to buy Signature Bank, right, to keep them from going completely bankrupt, right? Is there going to be more of that? I think there will be because of the elevated interest rates, and it looks like we're not going to get a cut from the Fed for anywhere near as soon as we thought we were going to. The market originally was pricing in March where we'd get a cut. Doesn't look like that's going to be happening. Unfortunately, what is confirmed that is going to be happening is recessions around the world. Japan slips into a recession and loses its spot as the world's third largest economy. Very, very sad here for the Japanese. The government reported the economy shrank at an annual rate of 0.4% in October to December, according to Cabinet Office data on real GDP release Thursday. Though it grew 1.9% for all of 2023, it contracted 2.9% in July and September, and that is 2 straight quarters of contraction and is considered an indicator an economy is in a technical recession. If you hop over into the UK, we have some listeners, we have some viewers, we have some bros over in the UK. So take a look, take a listen here. UK economy falls into a recession. Noticing a pattern here? Look, that's a nice picture there. That's nice. Gross domestic product depleted by 0.3% in October-December period. It is a steeper decline than the 0.1% consensus forecast by economists. The dip follows a 0.1% contraction in Q3, meeting the common definition of a technical recession. So apparently the world, and you knew I was going to say this, apparently the world has figured out what a recession is again. And although the rules don't apply to the United States, that had 2 quarters of a deficit GDP, of a reduced GDP, not an increasing GDP. Although we had that here in the United States, it was not reported as a recession. And I think that you can interpret why that is for in your own way. And I will say, in the defense of those who are keeping score here in the U.S., the labor market still does not look weak. It's still based on the data we're getting from the Bureau of Data Statistics, it looks strong, right? So it is a little bit tough to call. You can kind of see why maybe they're not going to go ahead and call it a recession. However, it's a little dumb. And now Japan and the UK are definitively in a recession, and unfortunately, they don't get to pick and choose the definition of recession. And the Western American media went ahead and is calling it a recession. So I don't know which came first. I don't know if the government's called it or the media called it, but there you go. It's interesting, and it's great for Bitcoin, right? Because I'm working on this thesis, right? And I'm going to go ahead and drop it here for the first time. I think, so everybody calls Bitcoin is the new gold. I think it is. I think that Bitcoin is the new gold. But I think another way to think about Bitcoin too is that Bitcoin is the new Switzerland, right? Hang with me. I think Bitcoin is a new Switzerland because Switzerland's role in World War II, right, and in just history in general, has been kind of the World Bank, right? And I don't mean the institution, the World Bank. I mean it has been like, hey, bring me all your money. You can store it here until global conflicts are resolved. Also, we will not tell whatever government that you live under about the money you have here, right? So Bitcoin, in a sense, is becoming the new Switzerland because it is neutral, right? as economies rise and fall, Bitcoin doesn't care about those economies. All it is just 21 million Bitcoins. Scarce resource, fixed supply, and a lot of rich people are buying it up as faster than they can call in their butler to bring them some more hors d'oeuvres, right? It is going fast, and we're seeing that reflected on price. And that's why I'm saying buckle up, right? Brace yourselves, because I think that what could happen here is that traders get caught off guard, right? We're in this move here for Bitcoin that is bullish, right? But there's a chance that this isn't just a run-of-the-mill move, right? There's a chance that because the ETFs got approved, that has jump-started the bull market in a way that is going to totally melt some faces, right? Now, a lot of folks are kind of considering, this is I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this line right here, this vertical line that I have drawn, is the previous halving, right? And so into the halving, there was all kinds of chop, right? There was all kinds of chop. There was dips here. This was a pretty scary dip. Do you think you would have held from here to here a 62% drop, right, in Bitcoin? And if you go peak to trough here, that was a 72% drop. Do you think you would have held if somebody told you about Bitcoin right here, right, and then you held all the way through here? Do you think you would have held that? Maybe if you'd invested what you can afford to lose, you might have, right? But you would have been rewarded, absolutely. And and the luckiest among us actually just bought right here, right? And ultimately, this was a face melting move higher. Obviously, you guys all know the story here with Bitcoin. The move higher, 1,600% move higher. Very nice, very well rewarded for their patience and their understanding and their deep conviction of what Bitcoin is. Now, we could be in a similar situation where this is it. There's not going to be a major pullback, a 40%, a 30%, or even really a 20% pullback. We might just start blowing through these levels again and again and again. Why? Because there is a bit of a new thesis in town as of today, a new buying thesis, which is, oh, my country is in recession. The world's largest economies, the UK, is in the top 5. Japan is in the top, was in the top 3, right? Is now not, is still in the top 5, but I think it's losing its spot to Germany as number 3. Right? This is not good. This is not good. And the people living in these countries are going to say, I'm not sticking around for this. I've seen how this went in Argentina. I've seen how this is going in other countries around the world, in Turkey with their lira, right? I am getting out of this. I'm buying gold, right? I'm buying U.S. equities, and I'm going to think about buying Bitcoin. I'm going to go look at buying Bitcoin. If that happens and more recessions sprout up, right, that is the new thesis here. And it's not just going to be, the American pension funds and sovereign wealth funds and like more hesitant money managers that are going to be trickling into Bitcoin throughout the rest of 2024 and 2025. It's going to start to be the world's wealthiest people in the UK and Japan and other countries that descend into recession, right? And at the very least, just want to diversify, just want to try out this new crypto asset, right? So that is a big macro thesis of why the price of Bitcoin could continue to pump higher, and we're seeing it. It's hitting all-time highs in Japan. That's a hard-to-ignore statistic. Their media is going to be reporting on that. In the same time, they're seeing their currency at lows compared to other currencies, compared to commodity prices, compared to their standard of living, right? Their yen is buying less and less delicious Japanese ramen every single day because of the recession, and it's probably only going to get worse. I don't know. I'm not there on the scene in Japan. If you're listening, if you're watching from Japan, let us know in the comments. Probably not the chat because you're probably not awake, but let us know in the comments. Is it getting bad there in Japan? Is it getting bad there in the UK? Probably some folks watching from the UK. Let me know. Speaking of the chat, let's tune in. Stupid Thing said H&R Block ? I don't know. There must be some kind of tangent conversation happening here. Drew XRP said, I just heard Florida does not have capital gains tax. Does that mean I'd keep more of my crypto profits if I move to Florida? So capital gains tax, to my knowledge, is a federal tax. That's not going to be a state tax. But yeah, I don't think any state has a capital gains tax. That's actually a good question. If there are states that have another capital gains tax for the state. Maybe if you I don't know. I think it's a federal one though, and I think that's a rumor. And you may have been joking. So if that was a joke, I missed the humor in it. Let's see. Stupid Thing said, "What a beautiful Mr. T starter kit chain you got there. Is it a 45 caliber?" Very funny. No, it's not a 45 caliber. This is a panhandle. It's Florida, and it's a beautiful, beautiful chain given to me by my Valentine, Amanda. Let's see. Arif Bada said, "Hi, I'm from the UK. What is up, Arif? Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure everybody is smashing the like button and responding to the poll. We're going to get to that poll in just a second, and it is very relevant. We've got a few more stories here to cover, and I said I was going to cover Ethereum, and I didn't. Don't think I forgot about that. Let's check it out here. This is Ethereum, and man, she is just zooming higher. $2,800 per coin for Ethereum. Of course, if you look at all-time highs, it's still got a ways to go here. Ethereum up at all-time highs from where we are trading now would still be a 71% increase. Okay. So, that's honestly not that far. That's not that far away. That's not that far away at all. I mean, during this price action here, this was only 49 days, so 50 days, and that was 187%, right? So you do the math. That's, less than 2 months, you could be seeing all-time highs for Ethereum. We could be seeing that. It's been done before, right? Very, very quick price action for Ethereum if it starts to get a bid. And I'll tell you what, the thesis that I just presented to you, the new buying thesis, right, of Japan going into recession, the UK going into recession, a rotation out of those domestic assets into the neutral asset of Bitcoin, I think it does apply to a lesser degree, but it does apply to old Ethereum over here, right? I believe it. Let me know in the chat. What do you think? Do you think it applies? Maybe it doesn't. I think it applies to a lesser extent, but I do think that folks are going to rotate into Bitcoin, and I do think that they're going to rotate into Ethereum as well. Crux of Crypto injecting some value here. Very, very much appreciative to you, Crux. Capital gains is federal. Other states may have an additional state tax, like California, up to an additional 13% can be taxed on top of the feds, 37% to tax about half of your capital. Goodness gracious. Yeah, so traders living in California, I don't know. I wonder how many people don't actually. Anyway, well, that sucks. And I would imagine Florida does not have that. I've never looked into it as much as maybe I should have. I'm going to watch what I say here live on the interwebs. But let's see. Sniper Paul said UK has been in a recession and a downward trend for a while. It's true. Thank you so much, Crux, for helping me out. Thank you so much. Guys, Crux of Crypto has been writing some really great videos, and they're going to be posted, and I believe one or two of them are already posted over on Piper Academy. Correct me if I'm wrong, Crux, but you got to go over there and subscribe and check out Crux's content, and obviously, stick around and watch the live show over there. It's going to be live here in about 10 minutes, which tells me I've got to get moving. I got to keep moving through these stories to help deliver the alpha to my bros. All right. Matt C, who probably isn't watching because it's way too early in California. He lives in California, and he pays that state cap gains tax, which is just absolutely insane. Anyway, I brought him up because he was the one who brought this next story to my attention. Genesis gets approval to sell 1.6 billion Bitcoin and ETH shares. So what are you going to do about this? Are you scared? Are you shaking in your boots? Don't worry, bros. I'm going to help put it into context here. The Bitcoin shares are worth approximately 1.38 billion. The Ethereum and ETH Classic Trust shares total around 207 million at current rates. So let's take a look here at what that means, because in context, this may not really be that big of a headline. It's a big headline for Genesis, for sure, but here are the charts up to the 4th of February. So from yesterday, you got the total net flows of 4,000 million, right? So 4 billion since 11th of January 2024. So that's quite a bit. You can see that what's really important to me is going to be this green, this bright green line in the middle. That is the overall inflows and outflows. So the net flows, right, is right now you can kind of see the correlation between Bitcoin's current price and this line, right? There is a lot of bullishness. There is a lot of buying, a lot more buyers and sellers right now in Bitcoin. Now you might say, well, what about Grayscale here, this huge kind of bottom of the iceberg? Well, the important part about that is that it's leveled off, right? There is not a net buying of GBTC, it looks like, according to this chart, because the gray would start to be going up here, right? And it's not. It is still going down, but the rate at which it's going down is much less. Then if you also look at the scales here, look, you see where the 5,000 is, the 5,000, right? Grayscale has breached that 5,000 level, obviously, and with some change, but at the same time, the 9, those spot ETFs that are getting bought are up to 10, that 10,000 level. So overall, will this 1.6 billion sell matter? Right? I think it will. I think it will matter, but I don't think right now if they were to dump it right now, I think it would be favorable, because where Bitcoin is trading right now, right, a dump would probably only at most have it come back down to 50,000, and that would be a healthy test that's probably going to happen anyway. So I'm definitely not shaking in my boots with this headline. Not that you would expect me to shake my boots really about any kind of headline with Bitcoin, right? But this was brought to me by Matt C, and I appreciate it, Matt C. Whenever you wake up and watch this, just know that I probably wouldn't have covered this without you. You are so meaningful to the bros, and we really appreciate you. So let's keep moving though here. I'm not worried about this. Let me know. Are you? Are you worried about a $1.6 billion sell? First of all, it's not all Bitcoin. Second of all, they're smart, although they weren't able to escape bankruptcy, but they're smart-ish, right? And they'll be not bankruptcy, I'm sorry, but scandal, right? They're getting themselves into a little bit of a pickle here, Genesis. But they probably are smart enough to where they're not going to just dump this on the market, because likely these guys working with Genesis still own a good bit of crypto, and they understand that dumping it all in the market at one time is no bueno. So they're going to do it over time, is my prediction. But let's keep moving here. If you want to learn more about the Bitcoin spot ETF flows, the block has a pretty cool kind of dashboard for it. You can see the spot Bitcoin ETF. This is free, by the way. And you can kind of see all the different information here. Spot Bitcoin ETF AUM overall. You can see GBTC still has 23 billion, which I want to say is higher than the last time I checked. This is as of February 14th, and then these guys apparently add up to 13 billion, and they're catching up with this with the GBTC one. So that's pretty useful. You know, I've been checking in on this, you know, a little bit, not a ton, be honest with you, but you know, it's pretty helpful to get a good understanding of where these ETFs are headed. We've got a story here about the miners and American policy. This is from Balaji. If you don't listen to Balaji's podcast, he just put out a bunch of new episodes. It's called The Network State. I listen to it on Spotify. If you have the attention span to listen to a podcast, which if you can make it to a 30-minute stream with me rambling on, you can listen to Balaji. He does go over my head quite a bit sometimes with coding talk, you know, with talking about development and specifically getting into the code. But man, if you really want to take your crypto knowledge to the next level and understand what the future is going to look like, I would go listen to The Network State over on Spotify. It's probably on Apple Podcasts as well. But Balaji, super cool guy, I like him a lot. He's reporting here, the federal government wants to know the location and hash rate of every miner, as with firearms registration enables confiscation. And his take is, so probably a good idea for U.S. miners to relocate to red states where property rights are more secure. And that's due to this news, is that Bitcoin miners began receiving letters from the EIA forcing them to report sensitive data. The miners who receive the letter have only 10 days to respond to the request by the EIA or face huge fines or worse. So this could honestly be a pretty big story, because if these miners do have to go offline and relocate to a red state or outside of the country, that is going to be potentially detrimental. However, the genius of Satoshi is that there's more than just the miners right? There's an incentive to mine. So there's plenty of miners all over the world, And yes, I do believe that transaction time would probably slow down if every miner in the United States had to relocate. But in his last podcast, Balaji was talking about how there's in America sanctuary cities for immigration, which is a whole. I'm not making a comment on that. A whole conversation in and of itself. There could be potentially sanctuary states, sanctuary cities that say, "Hey, we're not going to acknowledge this federal mandate for you to basically disclose the whereabouts and the hash rate of your miners." That is no longer going to be, something you have to worry about if you relocate to Austin, Texas, or Miami, Florida, or Wyoming, whatever it is going to be. That's going to, that could potentially be the world we live in. And that could also multiply by every, political issue that's contentious. And it's like, well, T-Shroom, is that a world you want to live in? I don't think that's a worse world, right? Because one of the things, and am I the biggest Balaji cheerleader? I guess I am this morning. But one of the things I really liked what Balaji said in his last podcast that he put out is make America states again, right? That's if you're a conservative, if you're a libertarian, you're going to really agree with that. Some people that might hear that and might not understand what that means because they don't live in the U.S. and don't understand the history and why states are different from the federal government. I get that. But America was always envisioned to be states ruled, decentralized, right? Where the state government has a lot more power than maybe not a lot more power, but has more power over its own state than the federal government has over its own state. And so, I think that obviously that message is going to resonate with libertarians and some conservatives. But overall, this story is a bit troubling, and it could potentially have an effect on transaction speeds in a few months, or I guess in 10 days, right? If these mining companies are like, hey, we want to relocate, like this is bad, we are moving to Mexico, we're moving to Canada, we're moving to Puerto Rico, we're going to mine from there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. More than likely, there'll be kind of a halt on this to the EIA. Some law firm, some advocacy group will say, hey, this is not enough time to comply. Either change this or all the miners are going to leave the U.S. and they're not going to be paying income taxes to the U.S. anymore. They'll be paying it to the government of Puerto Rico, right? Or Mexico or whatever it's going to be. Next story here as we wrap up. Cathie Wood's ARK Invest sells Coinbase shares for the first time in a month. And then you've also got there's another headline out there floating around, another fund that also exited. I think it was Tiger, which is kind of a global private equity fund from what I understand. They have also completely exited Coinbase. I'm bullish on this. This is so Cathie Wood's. They have sold a lot of Coinbase, but they're rotating into Robinhood. So I think it's less so that they don't like Coinbase, and it's more so that they like Robinhood. I don't blame them. However, this comes at a very interesting time because Coinbase is at the end of the trading day today, right? 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They will be issuing their quarterly earnings, which we reported on yesterday at the 3 p.m. show. Real quick, we never talk about Hadera. This was a big story for them yesterday. We were going to report it on the 3 p.m. show. We didn't have time. Food company Mondelez International joins Hadera Council to experiment with DLT. I'm not going to get into the technicals of this, but this is pretty cool. So Hadera has their website. You can go to governance and see their governance council. And this is the council, I believe, that Mondelez is being added to. And as you can see, I should have preloaded this screen before. Sorry about this. But as you can see, their council is almost full. And this council contains the likes of LG, IBM, Google, T-Mobile, Dell, some big names. I think Ubisoft's also in here. Yep. Some big names, and now they're getting a big food, I guess, manufacturer and distributor in Mondelez. So pretty exciting for the H-Bar squad. I don't know what they call themselves, but I was a holder. I made some gains over on H-Bar and didn't have to pay estate capital gains, which was nice. But go ahead and look more into that. If H-Bar, I think, is a pretty solid project, and they've got a lot of really big names on their council, and they've added a new one today. So some more Boeing, Hitachi, some big names there. So very, very impressive over there at H-Bar. Folks, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go ahead and tune in. I've also got some cool news, which is that we now have 10 subscribers, 10 followers over on Investing Bros. And guess what? for today and today only, we may do this again, but everybody who follows the Instagram is going to get a follow. Even if you are a scam bot watching right now, Mr. Scambot, go ahead and jump on over to Investing Bros Official. There are other somebody has actually already made Investing Bros accounts that are not real. So make sure you're following this one and this one alone. Take a screenshot and follow later or follow now. And if you follow today, before midnight, February 15th, Eastern Standard Time, you will get followed back 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, guys. Go ahead and tune in. Tim and I will be diving much more deeply into the charts. Noon, we'll be putting out that TA video from Tim. And we'll all be in the Discord, chatting it up, talking about our trades. And we will see you there. Adios.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news, got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.